What's up, guys and girls? Today I'm going to be talking about a couple threads on Reddit. Let's just tell you the title of the first one. Quote, I work for a national escort agency that specializes in rich nerds. Unquote. And so I stumbled across a couple of these threads out of boredom. Some of them have been posted over a year ago, and I thought they were very intriguing, very interesting, because these women have modernized views on the whole, something in exchange for sexual intercourse and your company and maybe playing video games with your clients. And this particular one was very fascinating because she specializes in rich nerds, as the title mentions. And again, her perspective is modernized, you could say. And again, not all women have this perspective, but when asked in this Ask Me Anything, whether or not she regarded her job as something where it's slutty or against social norms or embarrassing, she responded in the fact that not at all, because she's pretty much making a whole ton of money from this, and she's doing much better than a lot of people. Apparently, she makes about $2,000 for the whole thing, playing with these nerds, whether it's Diablo or World of Warcraft or whatever. They ask for sexual intercourse, and sometimes it's specialized in the contract, sometimes it isn't. And furthermore, it's very interesting because it's such a niche market, but she explains it so well. She explains how there's a lot of apparently very wealthy nerds whose interests are very, I wouldn't even call it a niche market, because WoW, Minecraft, Halo, these are not niche games anymore. Millions of people play them every single day. Well, not every single day, but every week. And so honestly, I think it's best if, I quoted some of this stuff from this article, and I just found it very interesting because according to her calculations, she'd be making well over $100,000 per year. And it's very interesting because oftentimes she'll be spending hours just watching movies or doing some nerdy thing with these guys that's not even sexual intercourse, not until the end at least. And it's very interesting because these clients or whatever, personally I find it kind of sad that they don't have it in themselves to go out and attract these girls without spending money to do so. But at the same time, maybe they're nerds because they got wealthy because they were nerds, and they can't really get girls. But again, it's still kind of sad, and it's kind of despicable in that you can learn to do this, and you can get it done, and you don't have to pay for these girls. But still, it's very interesting. This girl says it's a win-win situation. A lot of these escort girls are very young, in their 20s. Obviously none of them posted pictures, but judging from the market, it seems like it's a market that is hot. It makes a lot of bank, and there's not enough girls doing it, and they're looking for more people to do it. Again, I'm not advertising this, I'm just stating the facts, at least from what is mentioned in these threads. And so it's interesting because just judging from her responses, it doesn't seem like she's exceptionally good looking. And so it seems like it's an undiscovered market with a lot of income. And she says at least in this thread, she says she stumbled across it because she went to the dentist or something, and then next door she stumbled across these two girls playing video games with this guy, and she started she was interested in video game, and then afterwards the girls sort of pulled her aside and explained that this wasn't just a video game session, and that's how she got into the industry. Obviously this is a very niche industry, and there's other escort agencies. This was a unique thread because the other threads on Reddit about this are just standard escort agency threads, And again, those are interesting as well. It seems like a lot of these, at least from what I've seen on Reddit, there are a lot like, it's kind of strange because, again, any girls viewing this, think even considering going into this, I mean, you gotta be careful because it's not all glamour and glitz. You're probably not gonna get into these high-end things, and there's a lot of like low-end stuff and sketchy stuff and so forth. But if you're street smart and you know you have your like stuff down, you can avoid or limit your chance of being raped or getting into a sketchy situation. I just thought it was very interesting. Again, I honestly can't agree with certain things that these girls like admit to in these threads. Stuff like, oh yeah, I make a lot of money from this, and therefore it's simply an exchange of services. And sure, like it's a cultural thing that could just be due to human culture. Like, again, like from a logical, objective perspective, technically it is just an exchange of certain Homo sapien appendages for a form of currency. But I still can't get that through my head. And I don't know, like, what do you guys think out there? Because this girl, sorry, motion sensor went off. These girls do this sort of thing, and it seems like more and more they're admitting that, oh yeah, it's completely fine because I see it as a great way of making money. And their reasoning behind it is always, oh, I'm making quite a deal of money for very little time and effort put in, and in fact that time and effort put in can actually be quite entertaining, and so therefore what's the big deal? I'm not hurting anyone, nothing's really going on, so why exactly is this a problem? And then they show their numbers. Oh yeah, I make $2,000 per transaction and so forth. And I don't know, one of the threads actually, the girl admitted that she was doing all this, she was working and doing all these hundreds of requests for different clients, where she would go in, have dinner with them, talk to them and so forth. And then she admitted that she had a boyfriend and she had never told her boyfriend about this, and she was never going to. And that's just when I was just like, really? And she started this like backward reasoning, which when I read it, it seemed kind of logical, but like looking back, I can barely remember what sort of BS she used. It was something like, I don't think my boyfriend would mind if I told him. However, I would like to keep how I make my money separate. And I personally don't think that's really true. It's just some sort of reasoning. I'm pretty sure his boyfriend, actually she said in the thread, her boyfriend would break up with her if she told him. So it's these strange sort of things. And again, I just found it very fascinating that there's this sort of industry going on. There's this whole escort agency, even in the United States, where there's a lot of females that are 20, around the age of 20, whether they're in college or, already graduated college, and they do this sort of thing, which is pretty much prostitution, and it's borderline illegal, but legal in the sense that a lot of these escort agency websites don't actually mention anything about an exchange of sexual intercourse. It's usually something about like, oh, I'm paying you for a dinner with a girl, and they bring about all these reasonings about, yeah, some people, some rich, high-end, wealthy individuals don't have the time to go out and court ladies, blah blah blah, so they pay for just company and so forth. And it's partially true because apparently from these AMAs, a lot of these guys actually spend a good deal of time talking or on a date or dining with the girl before anything goes down. And so there it is. Hopefully this video did not inspire a bunch of viewers to go out and search these things and actually engage in these services. Again, I'm not condoning or praising the service, but it is quite astounding out there. And again, it's one of those things where it happens, and I personally think that unless you've just surrendered all hope and you think there's really no chance, and even in those circumstances, I feel like when you think there's no chance, there still is a chance, and there's probably a good chance if you knew what you're doing, if you read the right material, if you knew the right knowledge, you wouldn't have to go out and do all this crap with these girls and have to pay for it as well. But again, it happens. So I don't know. That's all I really want to say about this. I thought it was very interesting though, because I mean, some of these girls lucked out because they're, at least from what they're saying, they're making a lot of money and having a great time at it. Obviously, this sort of thing doesn't come without certain precautions and so forth. STDs as well. You never know if you get HIV or whatever. And so it's very interesting. I'm actually going to finish this video off with a few quotes from one of these AMAs, actually the one regarding the nerd escort agency. She says, quote, "I really like it. It pays really well, and honestly, I will probably be able to save a little over $500,000 in a couple years. Well worth it." That's a lot of money, probably more than most salaries in America in a couple years. I mean, think about it. She mentioned she pays $2,000 per extended thing with the video games and the app, I would say 3 or 4 hours of video games and then the intercourse, but that would still mean what, 250? Oh, that's not bad. 250 transactions with guys spread over a couple years, doable, I guess. How old are you? She says she's 23 and she has no significant other. She doesn't keep close contact with her family other than Thanksgiving. On the upside, I get to spend a great deal of time with friends. I have a ton of free time, think about getting back into WoW raiding. So this is a girl who actually likes video games. Personally though, I mean, it's great that she stumbled into it. It's still, if you are sort of given really great things just served to you on a platter, it sort of destroys your work ethic and sort of makes you into a bum. So that kind of happened with me over the summer when I was back from college and I didn't have stuff to do. I didn't really get an internship, so my parents allowed me to just stay at home and do whatever. So long story short, I became a bum who played video games a lot, and I vowed to never really go back to that because I just felt horrible each day, even though I was doing what I enjoyed. Now, I can't really enjoy that for long without, reminiscing. Quote, "The truth is, I don't really feel the need to get into a serious relationship. I'm sure I will someday, but I have many great friends. And I feel sexually fulfilled." For sure, I mean, you're getting it in. "I've graduated with a liberal arts BA and I don't feel the need to go to grad school. I think of myself as a more entrepreneurial type. Perhaps I will start some sort of business." Okay, a lot of people say that and they throw around entrepreneur, but you're not really an entrepreneur. That would be someone who starts, creates, owns, manages a business. You, on the other hand, are at the bottom tier of a business, so more so something along a freelancer. A lot of people like to throw around the term, maybe I'll start a business someday. It's not that easy. Again, again, I'm not trashing on her, but it's more so like a general remark on the public. It really is a term that's thrown around too much, entrepreneur. Another quote by her. And again, I have nothing against her, so if the tone of my remarks are like somewhat sarcastic or trashing her, it's not true. No, at the end of the week, when you realize you've made 10 grand for 30 hours of work, you feel pretty damn good. 10 grand for 30 hours, you guys do the math. That's probably more than most people make. So again, that's a lot of the reasoning I see in a lot of these sort of escort threads about how they're not sluts and they don't view themselves as sluts. And they also say a lot of stuff like we're all just trying to make money and make our way, and this is what I have to do. But honestly, they don't really have to do it, but it's just like the best bang for their buck given their time and effort. And again, with contraception, you really have no downside unless the contraception doesn't work, or you get an STD, or you get pregnant. So, you know, with the advent of contraception, a lot of these sort of human, culture reactions we have about, oh, this girl's sleeping with everyone, how dare her, are really just rooted to the past evolutionarily that we haven't really naturally selected for. I don't think we ever will, because we're evolving towards monogamy. But long story short, yeah, like you're not going, like, unless she gets pregnant, she really doesn't have a downside. So I don't know. Quote, I'm honestly happy to spend time with 80 to 90% of my clients. They're like friends that pay you to have sex with them. The rest aren't so bad, but anyone with too much ego gets on my nerves. I usually don't come across nerds with egos, but again, sometimes I do. It's quite interesting though, so because, like, let me know in the comments what your opinions are on these nerds and them having that sort of friend zone mentality, which sort of causes this girl, as explained in her quote, to sort of view them as friends in a way. She even said, I view them as friends. And my opinion, and you can tell me yours in the comments if you want, but my opinion is that, yeah, there's a different vibe that you put off as a friend versus something more as a friend. And that friend zone sort of thing comes from, being scared of rejection and a lot of other, like, lacking manly traits, and bringing out that risk, and bringing out that risk of rejection and accepting it and still trying, that a lot of these nerds may not have, which is why they're sort of resorting to this sort of service. Let's see. How do you like this job? Quote, well, let me see here. I worked in a law office during school, and sometimes I had to run around town to deliver legal documents. I delivered some to a dentist, and next door I saw some awesome music. I peeked in. 3 girls and a guy were playing Still Alive. And la-di-da, you heard the rest of that story. I pretty much explained it. Let's see, what else? And yeah, so that's about it. I hope you guys like this quick vlog, you could say, and I hope you like this sort of uncut thing. Maybe I'll cut it out, maybe I'll edit it out, maybe not though. I like these uncut sort of videos. Anyhow, that's all I gotta say. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Peace.